There's a number of reasons why somebody might want to mobilize their hips. Mostly it's because you're feeling tightness either at the hip directly, or maybe it's impacting the knee or the lower back. For a lot of people, it's either going to be a mobility issue or a stability issue or a combination of the two. And so what we're trying to do with this complex is create a bit of a catch-all for some of the most common things that are missing. And that's mostly trying to get more hip extension, which is just being able to open the hip fully, and also driving a little bit more free movement of the hip, so both internal and external rotation. So what we want to do is grab one of these big ass bands and hook it up to something solid. You do want something that gives you quite a bit of resistance. What we're going to do first is we're going to get the band around one leg, tucked in under your butt. And then you're going to step back into this half kneeling position. So the first part of our complex is just to stretch. We're going to face whatever our anchor is. We're going to squeeze our butt on this down leg and set up in this 90-90 position. And I'm going to let the band pull that hip forward. And as long as I'm squeezing my butt, I should feel a stretch basically very much around the hip and all the way down the quad. So depending how this feels, if we want to increase the stretch from here, and if we can, once we've fully opened up the hip, because that's usually the thing that goes wrong here, we kind of end up just resting and folding forward like this. So we do want to get upright as much as possible. I want you to imagine like you're a tree blowing in the wind, and the wind's blowing at you, and you're going to drift back to your heel. This increases the stretch the further we go back. As long as we keep our butt squeezed and our hip pulled forward, we're in a good spot, and we're just going to spend some time here. I would think probably 30, 60 seconds, maybe 15 to 20 breaths if you don't like to time instead. And you just spend some time holding, taking note of what that's feeling like. You might sort of squeeze the butt and then relax the contraction a bit, come in and out of that tension. And that is step number one. Number two is we're going to focus on staying on the same leg, same banded leg, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to have to flip legs. So how you would normally do this thing on the same leg, I would just flip around, make sure that this is brought down to about hip height when you turn the other direction. If not, you're going to feel like you're getting floss in the butt. So make sure that you slip that down if you feel uncomfortable. It might just be because the anchor is a little too high. And then you're going to drop the knee again on the same side that you were just stretching. So now that I'm set up in the opposite direction, this band is now going to pull me in the opposite direction. So it's going to pull my hips back towards the post. So what we want to think about is a little bit like a hip thrust. We're going to think about pushing this hip that's banded forward back to that upright position where we can feel like we can drive into the band and feel our butt squeeze. You're not necessarily actively thinking about like squeezing your butt. You're thinking about driving the hip forward, which will squeeze the butt. So we want to let the band pull our hips back. You're folding, and then you're pushing forward at the hip until you get a butt squeeze. Fold, push forward, just like that. So you're going to do 10 reps of those every time, going slow, focusing on the top position here where the hip fully opens and you get lots of tension through the butt. Now, something to watch out for is many people don't fully open here. They kind of finish here rather than driving the hip fully forward. So we got to watch out for that, because that's the number one thing that's going to cause, well, maybe not number one, but a very strong contender for something that causes a lot of hip tension is not being able to fully open the hip. So we want to make sure to keep driving forward. The second thing that you got to watch out for is sometimes we just end up getting a whole lot of knee movement and not a whole lot of hip movement. See how my hip doesn't really move when I do this? So I've got to make sure to focus on driving the hip forward more than anything else. Cool. That's step number two. On to step number three. So I'm going to end up turning so that the band is pulling me sideways, and I'm gonna switch my down leg. Now, I'm getting some lateral band pull, and I actually do have a separate video for this mobilization specifically, but for the sake of this one, so we're wanting lots of pull sideways. If we need more, then we can always adjust our position a little bit, get a little more pull. If you feel like it's cutting you in the groin, then we need to make sure to turn just a little bit away from the anchor, so it's not quite directly off to the side. It's gonna be off to the side and behind you. And then from there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bend to the waist, get our hand down. This hand's gonna be your little helper. It's going to help move the knee. So what we're gonna do is work through a bit of internal and external rotation, which is just, internal rotation is driving the knee towards the midline. So you're thinking about pulling through the inner thigh towards the midline, holding for a good 1 or 2 count. You're gonna feel the inner thigh working to keep you there. And then you're going to drive the knee out over the foot as far as you can go, looking for the side butt to help you out. The hand is just there as a helper again. What we want to be working is the inner thigh and the side butt in those respective positions. So think about pulling the knee towards the midline, really looking for the inner thigh. Then when you go outside the foot, you're really driving out with the side butt, and then you're making sure to keep a good knee over toe position. So a lot of times what will happen is the knee will duck back behind the toes. So we want to make sure to drive the knee over the toes the whole time while we're doing this. So pull to the midline, drive outside the knee, alternate between those two positions. You're looking for 5 in each direction. Again, taking your time with this, because the time and the pauses are the things that are the real game changers as far as feeling this and looking to open up range that maybe wasn't there before. Now, once you've done that, you hop out of that. I want you to just take a second and literally just compare what that side feels like as far as, restriction or whatever versus the other side. Even pop into a little body weight squat, and you're gonna notice that side moves much more freely than the other, and that's how you know you did it right. All right, good luck. Work it.